Now, a little while back, we took 4 epitomes of modern luxury SUVs to the middle of the desert to attend a royal wedding. The idea was to find out which would be the suitable SUV for a royal family. But that isn't really fair, is it now? Because we've got so many options in the Indian car market. Now, not to be left behind, Volvo said, look, we've got our new XC90. Why don't you come along with us to Spain, Tarragona, to find out what it's really about? So here we are. We're driving in the Moserrad mountain ranges to find out what this mother flagship SUV from Volvo has to offer. Volvo's fresh new design philosophy has gathered a lot of appreciation from international media, and the new XC90 carries forward that ethos. Now in its second generation, the XC90 is the first product to be based on Volvo's ground-up new scalable product architecture platform. The front looks the best, with the most noticeable elements being the T-shaped DRLs, which symbolize an important part of Swedish mythology. Get it yet? Well, it's Thor's hammer. The side is probably the least impressive profile, but what's impressive is that it does not belie one bit that on the insides, it's a full-blown 7-seater. When you compare it to other 7-seaters, it looks more compact and less like a trailer truck. Nothing individually stands out at the back, but as a confluence, it looks clean and tidy, whether stationary or in motion. It has taken Volvo 12 years to take the knife to the XC90. Now that they have, the result is a pleasing one. Now, much like the exteriors of Volvo cars that you've seen over the years, the interiors too have seen their fair share of changes. But what Volvo have tried not to do consciously is not to deviate from that Scandinavian restraint that they are known for. But when you look at these interiors, restraint isn't the first word that comes to mind, because they're classy, they're elegant, they're contemporary, but yet they manage not to shout out too much. There are, however, 2 things that I think steal the show in this car. One, the 19-speaker 1400-watt Boron and Wilkins music systems that you get with the top-end variant, which, and I didn't think I'd say this so soon after sampling the Burmester sound system in the Mercedes S-Class, is one of the best car music systems I have heard. The other? Now, just like smartphones have also moved from buttons to a touch interface, Volvo decided that it was time that infotainment systems also move along in that direction as well. So what they did was they sought help from human-machine interface researchers from Denmark and built this. This is SENSUS, spelled with an S, which is basically this vertically stacked screen which controls everything from music to navigation to everything to do with the car as well. So now they've eliminated buttons. There are just about 8 buttons on the center console now. And I'm happy to report that unlike other infotainment systems which have a touch interface, this isn't painful to operate like those. This in fact is much more tactile, much more accurate and much easier to use. Now in terms of engine options, globally there are 3 engine options, which is the D5, the T8 and the T6. Now India is likely to initially get the D5, which is the turbo diesel, and then at a later stage Volvo might decide to introduce the T8, which is an electric petrol hybrid. A delicious prospect, but we'll get to it when it gets here actually. For now, let's focus on the D5. The D5 is essentially a 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine that's good for 225 horsepower and about 470 Newton meters of max torque, which are pretty decent figures in this segment. But let's get to the figure that will actually matter to most Indians, which is a company claimed fuel efficiency figure of 17 kilometers to the litre. Now, ARAI hasn't confirmed this and neither have we. So for now, let's just run with this ballpark figure. Now, if you're a sucker for raw power and torque, the XC90 isn't really aimed at you, and Volvo make no pretensions about it either. But it's performance that's not abundant but adequate. The smaller 4-cylinder engine isn't just brilliant in terms of efficiency, but its smaller packaging also helped Volvo devote more space to the cabin inside. When you've gone and made claims like by 2020 no one will be killed in a Volvo, You can't really afford yourself luxuries like lightweight aluminium, which is why Volvo continue to use Boron steel for the XC90's frame, which is heavier but much stronger. But if it's heavier, how is it that the new XC90 is 200 kilograms lighter than its predecessor? Well, call it smart engineering. Electronics too form a major part of Volvo's safety systems, and it's got the usual stuff: 7 airbags, ABS, ESP traction control that you see in most luxury cars today. But Volvo goes one up in offering lateral force protection to passengers too, thanks to its run-off road system. But where Volvo trumps other manufacturers is its radar-based systems like City Safety, where the car reacts for you when it senses an impending collision. Which is great. Yes, but what's the point of it all now? It's there in your car, you've paid for it, but you can't use it because Volvo will disable it when it comes to India. That's because the Indian government does not permit radar-based systems in your car. The XC90 comes with an optional air suspension, which is standard on the top-end inscription trim. Not only is air suspension the most superior automotive suspension technology, but it also allows for some allied technologies based on it, like the ride height adjust, which by the way also lets you lower the loading bay area at the boot. Like the German SUVs, it has a dedicated off-road driving mode. Now, how much of an off-roader does that make the XC90? Well, no more than the power mode makes it a track monster. However, the chassis with the electronic support systems makes for a controlled and sophisticated driving experience. Volvo claim that with the new XC90, when they're going to launch it, pricing is going to be key. So what they reckon is they are going to offer a lot more value for that particular price in that segment, and that's what they're going to be playing at. So if you're oblivious to everything else and you just want a standalone solid product, bookings open this summer.